Hi, my name is Pam Copenhaver, and this is my first Flosstube. I go by the handle PJ Stitcher. PJ, you might think, well, P for Pam. J could be my middle name, but no, I love to stitch in my PJs, so what better name than PJ Stitcher? Love to prop up in bed, my legs out, I got my magnifying lamp right there. My kitty cats come and lay around me, and I just stitch away. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm married. I'll be married 47 years in another month. I have identical girls. They're 35 years old, and I have three wonderful grandsons. My oldest is Eddie, and he's here helping me today. And without this, I wouldn't be able to make this video. He's going to be editing and just helping me out. And he has a brother, Jack, and then I have a youngest grandson, his cousin, who is 2 years old. I have three cats. There's a mama cat, and two of her sons are here. Shy guy who he lives outside all day and just hides, and he's kind of shy when he comes in the house. And then I have little Gray, who is the biggest of all the cats. Then I have a chicken, just one. We started with six, three buffs and three Americanas, but over the past 3 years, they've dwindled down, and now we have one left. Her name is Henrietta, and she's an Americana, and she's very pretty. She loves my husband. When my husband sits out in the yard, she goes and she sits on his lap, and she chatter, 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 and talks to him and clucks away, and she gives us about 5, sometimes 6 eggs a week. And something you might not know, Ericanas lay the blue eggs. And she lays a nice size egg for us. We also have sheep. We have 1 ram and 4 ewes. And until earlier this week, we had 7 lambs. But they were about 7, 8 months old, and it was time for them to go. So unfortunately, they went to auction this week. So we'll start over next spring or late winter, and we'll start with new lambs again. I've always been sorry, I was looking at my notes. I've always been very crafty ever since I was very young. I can remember embroidering. I had a little embroidery picture that had all kinds of stitches, and it was flowers of the month. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I sure wish I had that. And then I started knitting in about 5th grade when I was 10 years old. My grandmother was very crafty, and she taught me, and I can remember sitting on the bleachers at school during recess with the other girls knitting away. And I sure wish I had this. I knitted this Kelly green scarf. My stitches were not even. It had holes in it. Instead of coming straight down, it went all crooked and in all different directions. I also like to quilt. I do a lot of quilting. So sorry for the interruption. The house phone rang, and I never even thought about it ringing, so it's hard to remember where I was. I think I was talking about knitting. I knit for quite a few years, and I've made some beautiful things, but then I started having really bad neck pain, and my arms would go numb. So I've realized now that when I knit, I have to knit in moderation. I don't have those same problems though with cross stitch, so I'm so glad. So I also like to do paper crafts. I make mini photo albums, and I make lots of cards. I did macrame, and I quilt a whole lot. I have a couple quilts going right now, some with applique, and then another which is a Maryland flag that we're working on, and later on I'll be showing you a few of my quilts. I am a cross stitcher. I love to cross stitch, but I don't like to finish things. So when I was watching Bendy Stitchy, and she was showing the under the bed box that she got at her latest estate sale, I realized that I was going the way of having an under the bed box. Mine just hadn't made it under the bed, but they were piled around the house. And I don't want that. I want so that one day when I'm gone, people can have finished pieces, because what good is an unfinished piece to a non-crafter? Unless it's something big that someone might take and have framed, most of your pieces are going to either get thrown out, or if you're very lucky, they will go to another cross stitcher that finds your under the bed box. So I now am going to start finishing things. And once I get caught up, I'm going to start finishing as I do things. And I'm hoping that Flosstube, the pressure of having to have things done and fully finished, will help me to complete my goal. So let me show you a few of my projects that I've done over the past month and a half that I have not finished or have not fully finished. This one is by Pine Mountain Designs. I bought this at the Salty Yarns, and it comes as a kit. It comes with the pattern. Let me cover this as September that I'll be doing. There's Pine Mountain Designs. It comes with all the floss, your fabric, and needle. And one of the best things that this comes with is a little pillow. And you can take your completed cross stitch and you slide it into the openings, and you have a completed project. So when I finish this video, this August project will be complete, will be fully finished. And I'll be working on September. My next project is by JBW Designs. It is called the Seaside Series 3, and in the pattern, which is located somewhere in my house, I haven't found it, there is a crab and a dolphin. So here's the crab, and I noticed after I had stitched most of the crab that inside were, now they're so obvious, were fish. There's actually 10 fish within this little project, and this is stitched 1/1 on 28 count white, antique white linen. There's also 2 seahorses in here, and this is crab, and he'll be a little pillow. And I finished the back of all my projects with interfacing, with a fusible web interfacing, and I think it actually, well, first it helps to secure your stitches. You just make sure there's no extra threads or anything across the back. And it also helps to bring the colors out and make them brighter when there's something on the back. And then the other one that I did was the dolphin. And within this little small dolphin, there are 2 anchors, another small dolphin, 5 fish, a sailboat, a lighthouse, a seagull, and 2 anchors. And this project is so tiny that I should have a quarter here so that you could see how small it really is. But I'll show that to you when I fully finish my project. The next are some scissor fobs that I have not completely made. This is by Quarry Scissors. And here is what it's to look like. It came as a kit with the fabric, the floss, and with the rickrack. And here is my stitched project. And it actually came with a second long may she wave, and this will be the back of my scissor fob. I have 2 more small projects that I'm going to be working on. This one is Be Happy, and this one is also a scissor fob. And it comes as a kit. I got this at the Stitching Post in Catonsville, Maryland. I've been going to the Stitching Post, they're my local LNS, since it opened probably in the late 70s. And that's when I began to cross stitch. It was located pretty close to my work, which was the Social Security Administration in Woodlawn, and us girls would go over there at lunchtime and we would buy different things and we would stitch them during our lunch. I failed to say, I've retired from the federal government. I had 37 years service in, and I've been retired now for 8.5 years. It just feels like yesterday. The time has just gone so fast, but being retired has really allowed me to enjoy our grandsons, go on little adventures and overnight trips with them. I have another small project that I want to do. This one is Earth, can't say that, Delight, and it's a small pincushion. Oh, I failed to say, we also have bees. We have 2 hives in our yard, and we get honey for ourselves and for our friends. I did this one this month in July, Red, White, and Bloom. This one is by the Country Cottage Needleworks, and it's done on 28 count. I just haven't found the correct frame. I have a white frame that I bought at Home Goods, but I'm just not sure that it's just not perfect yet. So that's why this one's not framed. I buy a lot of my frames and things at the thrift store that I work at right down the road at the local church. I volunteer there, and I come home with tons and tons of frames and pictures that I get for $2. But it seems like every time I go to frame something, I don't have the exact right frame, or if I do have the right frame, it's not quite the right size. I did pick this up the other day. I was very lucky to get this. It's a washboard, an old antique washboard, and I want to stitch something and finish it to go here, like Priscilla and Chelsea do. I'm thinking a good one to maybe finish and put on here and to swap out with the seasons is my Lizzie Kate. It's called Liberty for All, and I stitched this. It's a shame she's retired. I just now got into her, but I was able to get a bunch of the patterns at the end of the season. And here is the stitch project. I really like how this turned out. I love the silver that was used to finish it off. And I used the fluffy thread for his beard and for his hair. Then I have one more that I've made this month, and this is Brenda Gervais, and this one Wordplay. Oh, I should have taken it out of the cover. And this is September. I belong to 2 quilt bees and our quilt guild. And our quilt guild is going to have a quilt bingo in November. And one of our bees, the honeybees, we decided that we are going to do a little 12 by 12, 12 by 14 wall hanging. And we bought a little metal wrought iron stand, and we're going to hang these off. So we each had to draw a month. And I can remember, and then we make a completed project for that month. And I said, I'll take any month, but I don't want to get September because I don't know what I would put or what I would do for September. So sure enough, I drew September, and I was the first person to draw. They told me I could put it back, but I thought, well, that's not very fair. So one of my friends told me I should cross stitch something. So that's when I did the September Wordplay. I haven't finished it all quite yet. I have to quilt around it and then sew on the binding, which is going to be a red. And then my girlfriend's coming over tonight, and she's going to do the hand sewing for me on the binding, because she is so good at that. And then I'll make it into the hanging. Now, my friend that's kind of heading up, she's our queen bee. When I showed her this, she said, you should keep that and just do something else. But I thought, well, I can always make another one for me. So this is September's Wordplay. I have one more project that I completed. I think this one I completed in June, and I did fully finish this one. And the only reason I got this done was because of Priscilla and Chelsea. So in my kitchen, under a shelf, my friend had given me a metal chalkboard, And my daughters, who are very talented and they're like artists, they could be chalk artists, they would write on it different things because I always had it blank because I'm not very good at drawing. So I stitched the Fresh Eggs design by the Cricket collection, and this hangs in the kitchen. I was at a quilt show at Hampton Roads in the spring in Virginia, and I saw those little chicks. She had little buttons and just little doodads, so I bought the little chicks to put on this project. Around the edge, I used some rickrack that I had, and I actually glued that down. Probably a no-no, but that was my way of finishing this project. Right before we started to film this, the mailman came into the driveway, so I was all excited because when the mailman comes to our house, it's usually a package for me because our mailboxes are located well down the lane on the main road. So some of the things I got was some little pom-poms, and this came just in time. They don't look it, but these are red. They look orange to me. And then I bought some lime green. I got a bunch of white and just lots of other colors. Also, from Nancy Turner, or I'm not sure if that's Nancy's last name, from Victoria Motto, from Nancy. She had listed on her eBay site rickrack, hand-dyed vintage rickrack, and I got lots of rickrack to help in finishing these projects. So if you need any kind of rickrack at a really reasonable price, go to Victoria Motto on eBay. Okay, I'll show you a few of my other things that I've bought and that came today. From Jen's Stitching Niche, I bought the Cricket Collection Winter and Autumn. So I'll be stitching these. I'll start with Autumn pretty soon. Then here's another one that I would like to stitch this season. It's Plum Street Design, Scary One. I really like this. I love those trees. And then the little quilted stars. Since this is Cow Pile by Plum Street Design, we had cows for quite a few years. We ran them on the back hills. And this before we decided we would switch with sheep. I do have to say the sheep are much easier than the cows because for some reason, every time my husband went away, the cows would get out. I'd have to find people to line up along the road to herd them back into the hill. And this is Henpeck. I just love this and I can't wait to stitch this. And this is also Plum Street Designs. I bought Carriage House Samplings, Bees in Her Bonnets. I thought the colors on this were great. And the piece that goes along with this, it was called a companion piece. It's called Tropical Hat Lady. And at first I didn't see the lady, but she's down there, the outline of her face, and I really like this. From Jen's Stitching Niche, I also bought, and a few of those patterns came from Julie, Gulf Coast Stitcher. From Jen, I got some of her floss tags. They're so colorful and nice, those. And I got some blue polka dot. And I love them because they come with these big rings, and I love hanging my floss on the big rings. And these are hard, this size is hard to find at the stores. I have, I'm usually a monogamous stitcher. I'm going to try to stitch more than one project, but I really do have trouble starting a second one while I have one going. So yesterday, we went up to Delaware and Pennsylvania. Our main goal was to go to Longwood Gardens to see the water fountains, the nighttime show there. If you haven't seen that and you live close to Longwood, you really should go see that. It was a wonderful show. It was about 30 minutes long. The 30 minutes flew by. It was to music last night, to different show tunes. And so while we were sitting there, we brought our chairs and we were sitting there. And I didn't want to stitch on my big piece because the light wasn't as great. So I brought along Grandpa's tractor. It's a Mill Hill kit. And I got a tiny bit done on that before the sun, we lost most of the light. But my main focus is called Frank's Family Portrait. And this is by Glendon Place. I'm stitching it on a 28 count cashel. It's called Meyer. And I just love it. And I will show you how much I've done. Let's see if I can get this in the screen. And so I'm really getting there. I'm working on Frank and trying to get him complete. Most of the house is done. All the stitching is done. I've started the moon a little bit around that. That's a good thing to do when I'm out among people and talking, because that moon just goes around the house. I should outline it and get that part done. I have Bee on Sunday, the Buzz Bee group, and I will work on this there. I've got Frank's face done, but there's a lot of outlining to do to bring out his face. And then I do Frank's bride, which I don't know her name. So hopefully the next time I do a Flosstube, I will have the stitching complete and will have picked up a frame. My next thing is my grandson, the quote second oldest grandson. He is not, he told me, the middle grandson, but the second oldest. His name is Jack, so I have two projects that I'm going to work on for Jack. I have Jolly Jack, which is an itty bitty pattern. I really like this. And then my favorite by Waxing Moon Designs is Jacks Are Wild. And I'll probably be stitching this one next because that's the truth. Jacks are wild. And then I've never joined a sale before. And then I saw Lynette and a few other people talk about the Blackbird design, 'Tis the Season stitch along. And it's in the book, Home for the Holidays. And I just love this. And I thought, I'm going to join the sale and be able to work on this and get this done and actually have a completed picture for the holidays. So I've been waiting, and I got my thread from Nancy from Victoria Motto Sampler Shop. And let me take this out. You can see the pretty colors. And I keep going through all my fabric. I've been buying a lot of fabric. And I found this little piece. It has, I don't know the name or anything, but the colors just seem to go so well on this. And so if this piece of fabric is large enough, I'm going to stitch it on this. So I'm really excited to be able to stitch along with all my fellow stitchers. So I think that's all for now for my first Flosstube. I hope you like and share and ring that bell so that you can follow along with me and with my little sidekick. And this is Eddie. Thank you. Happy stitching.